Hey guys! Today I wanted to share my top 7 tips for growing healthier houseplants. Before we get into the tips, I wanted to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Helix Sleep. I've been sleeping on my Helix mattress for over 3 years now, which wow, time flies. Our kids have switched to Helix mattresses. We just love them, trust them, know they're going to give us what we need to have comfortable, safe sleep. Helix Sleep makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs, and they're also shipped right to your door. They offer the Helix Sleep quiz that you can take on their website that asks you questions about your sleep habits, if you're a side sleeper, back sleeper, those kinds of things, and then also your body type to suggest the perfect mattress for you, because we're all different. We all shouldn't be sleeping on the same mattress. Even Ryan and I have very different sleep preferences. I'm a side sleeper and he is a back sleeper. I prefer a more firm mattress. He definitely prefers a more soft. We have the Midnight Luxe mattress and it is perfect. This year, Helix launched their newest and most high-end collection yet, the Helix Elite. They've taken their years of extensive mattress expertise and have created a truly elevated sleep experience. The Helix Elite collection includes 6 different mattress models to combine high-end luxury and personalized comfort tailored to you. Earlier, how we mentioned we trust Helix to not only keep us comfortable, but to keep us safe. Unlike other mattress brands, Helix mattresses do not contain fiberglass, which can be incredibly harmful to your health. Fiberglass is actually really commonly used as a flame retardant in mattresses, but rest assured, Helix mattresses are free of harmful fiberglass. And the best part is, Helix mattresses are delivered right to your door with free shipping within the US. The mattress comes rolled up in a box and it's super easy to set up yourself. Helix offers a 100-night sleep trial, so you get a little over 3 months to test it out and make sure you love it. Plus, Helix mattresses have a 10-year warranty, financing with flexible payment plans, so a good night's sleep is never far away. Keep an eye on the Helix website this month. They have some secret sales popping up throughout October. It'll be a great time to upgrade your sleep. You can click the link below or go to helixsleep.com/HarliG to get 20% off your Helix mattress, plus 2 free pillows. The link will be down in the description as well as pinned to the top of the comments. Thank you so much, Helix Sleep, and also to you guys for supporting and interacting with my sponsors because it makes a huge difference for my channel. Let's get back into the tips. We're back with tip number 1, which is to pick the right potting mix. And where pre-bagged mixes are so convenient and pretty affordable, generally pretty good for our plants, they're sometimes just not quite right for our care tendencies or home environments. A really big thing we can do is to add extra little additives to our potting mix that can adjust our mix to fit certain care habits and environments. Using myself as an example, I am a chronic overwaterer. I love to helicopter parent my plants. A way that I've kind of offset my excessive watering is by adding a few chunky ingredients to my mix to allow for a little bit more oxygen down to the roots, and therefore I don't have as many root rot issues. Root rot has historically been a recurring issue for me, and honestly, since I've started adding a few ingredients to my mix, I haven't had a single plant lost to root rot, which is honestly really impressive because I struggled, okay? I struggled. Some examples of things you could add in this case is cocoa chips, orchid bark, charcoal, pumice, perlite, leca balls, you know, just any really big chunky pieced things that you can toss into your pre-bagged mix to just kind of elevate the mix a little bit and help offset care inadequacies or care over adequacies. Another example, if you're someone that forgets to feed your plants or fertilize your plants, you can add things into your soil to help with that. Osmocote granules, you could add some worm castings into the mix. Those kinds of things to help give your plants some extra nutrients that maybe if you're forgetful for a couple of months, you know you have a little something there to keep your plants afloat. Tip number 2 is to give your plants thorough waterings. And my kind of tip to solve this problem is to use deeper saucers. Let me know if any of you relate to this, but especially with those teeny tiny, minuscule little terracotta saucers that are like this tall that barely hold any water. When I was going around to water my plants, I was so worried about overfilling my plant. I would just honestly drip a few drops of water into the plant and call it good because I didn't want it to overfill and make a mess. Using deeper saucers, it's allowed me to more adequately quench my plant's thirst. Especially if you're someone that has a big collection, it can be really hard to move our plants to like the sink or the bathtub or the shower outside to give them a really thorough watering. Thicker saucer has really helped me not worry about making a mess. It's like kind of a simple little thing, but has made a big difference, because keeping our plants watered is obviously so important for so many reasons. If our plants aren't getting very thorough waterings, even if we're fertilizing pretty consistently, the plant isn't going to be taking up all of the nutrients and vitamins it needs. It takes those in via the roots and water. Plus, underwatered, shriveled roots die back and leave just like basically empty tissue hanging there that is incredibly prone to fungal, bacterial infections, which is root rot. So we don't want any of that. Tip number 3 is to get to know your plants on an individual basis, especially when it comes to lighting. More is not always better when it comes to lighting. The tropical plants that we keep in our house can decline really, really quickly in very intense lighting. It's really helpful if before we get a plant, we have an idea of what the plant is going to need. Like alocasia are super, super heavy feeders, probably more than any other plant I've ever tried to keep. And I wasn't really aware of that before. It can kind of become a game of trying to play catch up on our little like care inadequacies. Sometimes it's kind of fun to just experiment and see if we can figure out what it needs based on like observation. I don't know, it's a little game I like to play, but it is definitely more helpful to know in advance instead of playing catch up. Like how it's possible to provide too much light, it's also possible to over fertilize. Which brings me to tip number 4, which is to avoid over caring. Too much fertilizer, over watering, moving plants around too much. As we touched on, too much fertilizer can burn the root. And when those roots burn and die back, they're more prone to bacterial and fungal infections and therefore rot. It's really important that we're not overdoing it in terms of fertilizing. Some signs that a plant is being over fertilized is usually the leaves will turn pretty yellow, except the veins will stay kind of green. So wilting is a sign, and it happens because there's just a buildup of salts and minerals that the roots can't handle. In this category, this is something I like have to actively remind myself, but just because a plant is looking like it maybe isn't doing well, I don't necessarily need to move the plant, because if a plant is already kind of stressed out from an issue, moving the plant is just going to cause further stress and probably a more rapid decline in the plant, because it takes a lot of energy to acclimate to a new environment. It's really doing the plants a disservice by like popping them from spot to spot. Moving my plants around and rearranging is something I really enjoy to do. So this is something I honestly every single day I have to like actively remind myself. It's just not good for plants. It sends them into shock, which can cause further issues. Tip number 5 is to avoid using tap water. And you guys, this is the tip. This is the one that I've changed most recently and seen like the biggest change in my plants in a short amount of time. I've been watering with non-tap water for maybe 4 months now, and my plants are definitely growing so much faster, so much better looking with larger leaves. This is something we've always heard, and I've always heard it, and I'm like, oh, that seems like a little bit over the top. It kind of is. It's not entirely necessary. Where I live, they add chlorine or chloramine and fluoride to the water, which there are actually quite a few plants that are extra susceptible to the chemicals and minerals in tap water. And agave, dracaena, spider plants, spathiphyllum, yuccas are more likely to react poorly to fluoride. They just don't have as much of a tolerance against fluoride specifically. Me, where I live, during the summertime, we have secondary water. During the winter, we have snow, so I can like melt snow to water my plants with. You could buy like a water filter. You could also do distilled water. This isn't something I've personally done, but I've seen on Reddit, people will add water conditioner, so like AquaSafe, you know, the stuff you add before you get a fish that helps condition the water so that it's safe for the fish and the plant life in the tanks. That will remove the chlorine, chloramine, and detoxify any heavy metals that are in your tap water. The signs of poor water quality in your plants are yellow leaves and brown tips, which it's the same as if you're over fertilizing your plant, because they're essentially getting burned by the chemicals in the tap water, just like they get burned by the extra salts in the fertilizers. It all looks the same, but if that's happening, there's some sort of issue. My peace lily is the best example of a plant always having brown tips no matter what I did, until I switched away from tap water for the plant, and now the leaves are perfect and pristine. The brown tips are no longer there. It's growing in bright, vibrant, healthy leaves. So it made a huge difference in just a few months span. Tip number 6 is to use your leftover cooking water for your plants. Me personally, anytime I boil potatoes or cook pasta or, you know, make broccoli, beans, any kind of vegetables, so long as I'm not adding salt to the water, I like to add that water to my plants once it's cooled down. But definitely don't do this if you're adding salt to the water because your plant will not like it. No salt, you guys, no salt. Watering with this scrap water is kind of a mild fertilizer. It provides a low dosage of nutrients to our plants, especially the water from potatoes and pasta. The starches in those that are left behind in the water introduces lots of nutrients to the plants like zinc, calcium, phosphorus, iron, potassium, probably some other things. That's really great for our plants. And also same with vegetables. It's just low dose vitamins and minerals that we can provide our plants. And also we're getting a watering out of it and not just wasting the water down the drain. You can also water with diluted coffee. So it looks almost like tea is how much I like to dilute it. This will provide plants with a little boost of nitrogen, calcium, and magnesium, which plants really appreciate. And particularly, I found that my peace lily blooms more when I do this. Also, my Hoyas seem to really like it. When you're researching up your little individual plants, you can see what prefers an extra boost of those nutrients and, you know, add your leftover coffee or bean water or pasta water to them. Why not just put it to use? My last tip is to repot and fertilize regularly. And yes, even in the winter, we need to repot and fertilize if our plants need it. Here's the thing, houseplants live in our house. Even where I live, we have below 0 Fahrenheit winters, so it gets really, really cold, but my plants are inside where we keep it 70 degrees. So my plants aren't being exposed to those cold temperatures. And as long as they're getting enough light, care habits really don't need to change. Of course, the exception to this is if you allow your house to get into the 55, 60 degrees, that's where it gets a little bit iffy. Maybe you shouldn't be repotting your plants or fertilizing them as often, but really we shouldn't be needing to change too much about our care habits season to season because our plants are inside in a controlled environment, especially if you provide your plants with extra lighting in the form of grow lights. So the lighting does change a little bit, but really don't put off a repot just because it's winter. And also just keep fertilizing your plants how you do. Those are all of my best plant care tips that have really helped me to scale up my plant game and have resulted in healthier overall plants. Let me know what you thought of these tips. If you have any additional tips to add into the convo, please leave them down in the comments. It's very much appreciated and super helpful. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next one. Bye!